Hey, episode 78 of the Nashville Artist Podcast is now out, featuring the incredibly talented studio artist, Jenny Crescuillo. Jenny's passion lies in the captivating world of glass art, specializing in casting and cold work. Join us as we delve into her artistic journey and discover the fascinating processes behind coloring and shaping glass. Jenny's art is a true reflection of her exploration within the medium. Drawing inspiration from her background in soccer, she embraces the physicality and teamwork involved in glasswork. She also shares her favorite venue, the Blue Room, and her go-to restaurant, Los Tacos, adding a personal touch to her artistic narrative. One of Jenny's remarkable traits is her resourcefulness and ingenuity. She creatively repurposes recycled glass bottles to achieve an array of vibrant colors in her work. Her valuable advice to fellow artists is to actively engage in the art scene as it fosters progress and growth. Additionally, she emphasizes the importance of having a body of work to showcase and share with others. Artistic influences such as Wim Delvoye, James Turrell, Andy Warhol, Dale Chihuly, Buster Simpson, and Hank Adams. Their unique styles and contributions have left a lasting mark on Jenny's artistic journey. Enjoy the podcast episode. My brother had the Nokia phone, and I would play Snake on it.
Yeah, I was never very good at Snake.
I was too young to have a phone at the time, but I was like, he has a cell phone that plays games? Wow.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's like a Game Boy, but it's a phone.
Yeah, I was mostly still playing games on the calculator.
Oh, the calculator, like
TI,
the TI
85, yeah.
84 or 85.
85, 86, 89.
Yeah, I had friends that like programmed them to like create a game on there. I was never knew how to do that. But like, what are you doing with your calculator, bro?
I didn't know how to do it, but like I got, like somehow, people would put games on my calculator. So
yeah, wow. So what have you been up to today or earlier this morning?
Well, today I just kind of got up and got ready and went over to Grimey's and picked up a record.
Nice. What record did you pick up?
I picked up the new Granddaddy record.
Granddaddy?
Blue Wave. Yeah. I have not heard it yet at all, so I don't know how it sounds. I'm sure it sounds, good, Granddaddy-ish.
What kind of music is that?
It's supposed to be like a combination of new wave and bluegrass.
Interesting.
Is what I've heard described. So blue wave.
Blue wave.
So we'll see.
I'm gonna have to check that out because that is a wild combination of genres.
Yeah. And so, but I think and they have some songs they've put out, but I'm always bad at like keeping up on that stuff. So I'm a little behind, but picked it up today. Listen to it. I don't know.
You've already listened to it?
No. I'll go listen to it later. When I get home later tonight.
Yeah,
hopefully.
You don't have a record player in your car.
No.
Right.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I got that, and then I also got like out of their new used like the little shuffle box or whatever, like a War on Drugs.
Oh yeah.
Record. Yeah.
Which War on Drugs record?
It's called Slave Ambient.
Oh.
I think, which I don't know. I don't know.
I like War on Drugs because they're like, it's really chill music, but it's fast paced.
Yeah,
so you can like work to it.
Yeah. I like stuff like that. Yeah, so I was like, I'll just get this.
Yeah. I forgot what record it was, but when I was a barista at a coffee shop, I would play that record all the time. It's like, real smooth and fast.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. So So I got that, yeah. But always enjoy the records. So I always kind of try and make a stop.
Nice. I need to go to Grammys more. I haven't bought any records in a while.
Oh yeah, it's easy to spend a lot of money buying records, so to be careful.
I bought my
get in, get out fast,
Right. I bought my roommate a reggae record for Christmas. Midnight. It's like reggae.
Oh yeah.
Old school. I love how reggae has like all its main, I guess, prophets are like these older people. Like reggae is like where the older person is more praised, I guess. Like reggae is not really a young man's game.
I see.
Young
it's respected. Yeah,
it's like
I got you.
The people that are in like 60s and 70s. Those are like the shaman or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like people really respect that like long career and things.
And which is different.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about reggae music.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. Like all the famous people are like the older ones. I don't really know of too many young new reggae artists, but anyways.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, I don't know much reggae.
Fun. It's good afternoon, spring and summer music.
Yeah, the kind of upbeat, like good pace music too, I would think.
Yeah, and it's usually pretty positive. So
yeah, I like
makes
that.
you feel good. Well, anyways, we'll get started here.
Sure.
Hey everyone, welcome to Nashville Artists. I'm Jordan, and today Jenny Crescuillo is here.
Hello.
Thank you for coming over and doing this.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. So happy to be here.
Awesome. So where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Ohio. I'm from Mount Vernon, Ohio, which is just kind of like a little town, sort of central-ish, like about an hour from Columbus.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have a younger sister named Jessica. She's a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah. She's a general practitioner of near Cleveland.
Oh, wow. Nice. So y'all are both kind of like different spectrums of like...
Yeah, we're pretty different.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're alike in some ways. Like you can tell we're sisters, like we look alike. And, we have some similar mannerisms and things, but, excuse me, I'm more artsy and then she's more like
analytical.
Yeah. Like doctor, like I like used clothes and vintage stuff, and she likes all brand new things from IKEA.
Brand. Oh,
yeah.
IKEA.
Or, yeah, but just like more like clean, fresh, new. And I'm like, oh, I like all my cups not to match and stuff, It's like, yeah, definitely different personalities.
What is she, but I'm sure, or does she like art or music and stuff, or is she just like...
Yeah, she does, but she likes country music a lot, and like Usher and things like that.
I gotcha. What about your parents? Are they into art or music?
Yeah, they're into art. My mom actually, she's a painter, or she, that's what she went to school for, and did a lot of like photorealistic painting and things like that. And she's, does a lot of like crafty things as well, and was always really into, like remodeling the house and like gardening and like, all that kind of creative stuff. And then my dad is a chiropractor.
Okay.
And but he was always, good at drawing and things, and he likes music and, plays the guitar and, is into that kind of thing, like Doobie Brothers and,
Nice.
So yeah, some creative background stuff there.
Cool. So what were you into as a little kid?
As a kid, I was always into art and that sort of thing. Like I was always into like cartoons and animation and stuff, but also I was kind of a big nerd about like fossils and dinosaurs when I was a little kid, and then when I got older, I was really into like rocks and geology and that kind of stuff, and Yeah, a lot of cartoons, a lot of Disney, but particularly, I'm not sure what what their name is right now, but the animator that did like The Hobbit, and do you know those cartoons? And
like the original,
yeah,
from like the
yeah,
70s,
yeah, and The Last Unicorn, that was really my favorite, and I think they did Ricky Tikki Tavi too. I'm not sure. I always saw those movies like together in this, like we had one VHS with them all on it. And so I'm not sure. I know like The Last Unicorn and The Hobbit were the same animation group, but I'm not sure about the other ones like Ricky Tikki Tavi. There was one called The White Seal. That was about like this albino seal, and then like the rest of its family like gets clubbed to death, but it hides in the snow because it's white. And so, yeah, great for kids, in the 80s. Yeah.
Jeez. I remember when I saw Bambi when I was in pre-K.
Yeah.
And they shot one of them. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Why am I watching
this?
It's
like, oh, this is great. Yeah, like I have kids now, and I can't really show them any of those Disney movies because they all start with some traumatic event at the beginning.
Pinocchio is super dark.
Oh my gosh, I haven't watched that one in forever, but like Dumbo, like I love Dumbo. That's such a good movie, but it is still like not appropriate for kids. And then now as a mother, it's like too emotional. It's like separating the baby from the mom. Anyway, yeah. It's a pretty crazy one.
Yeah. It's wild. The cartoons and stuff we were subjected to as we were younger, like.
Yeah, like Looney Tunes. Yeah, many Looney Tunes. Like, yeah.
Or like, I mean, yeah, even in the 90s, like just the cartoons were like really dark. Even
yeah,
SpongeBob.
They were pretty bad. Yeah, SpongeBob, yeah, and Ren and Stimpy.
And Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
Ren and Stimpy.
Doug.
Yeah,
what were some?
Hey Arnold.
Yeah, Hey Arnold, that was getting, I was starting to get a little old, like, that was more like my little sister kind of.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, all that kind of stuff was the same vein. So, yeah, those weird cartoons that warped us.
Yeah.
Warped us all, not a lot of parental involvement.
Right.
So, but that was okay. That was all right. Yeah. Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, like, watching Pocahontas in first grade or whatever, and, like, a girl in my class, I can't remember what scene it was, she had, like, a traumatic, like from watching it, like, this trauma.
Oh, yeah, something just hit her really hard.
The room and she cried and leave the room, and I was like,
wow.
What is going on here? Like, I thought we were watching cartoons.
Yeah, it's like we're just having a chill day in class, supposed to be watching a Disney movie.
It's supposed to be fun. Like, you're not supposed to take this too seriously, but some people were like so invested, and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So, what first got you into glass and art?
Well, kind of growing up, seeing my mom always doing things and painting, and then doing other things later, like other creative things that kind of always. There was always art supplies around. And so that really got me into art in the first place. And then when I got into glass was more so in college. And so I'd always thought, I want to go to school for art. I want to be an artist, whatever that means. You don't really know what that is when you're a kid. And then, your parents are like, oh, well, you should have some sort of backup plan. Like, you need to go to school. You need to, maybe you're going to go to school for art education, or you'll be a teacher or something like that. So, I ended up going to school. I wanted to go to college anyway. And then I went to Bowling Green State University in Northwestern Ohio. And they, just coincidentally have a glass department. And at the time, I was a really good student. And I was in the honors program, and, intro to glass was like one of the classes that there was always a wait list for. And because I was in the honors program, like just for the first couple of semesters at school, like quickly, was no longer in the honors program. But, I got to sign up early. And so I was like, oh, that looks cool. Like, when do you ever, like, what a crazy class to take, like glass blowing. Like,
yeah.
I'll just take that, like what a wacky thing. And then it was just cool. It was a really cool place to be. There's like stuff on fire and everything's, melting. It's a cool vibe too in the glass studio. Just like, it's loud. People are like blasting music, while you're working because it's very physical and like you have to like work on a team. So you're sort of forced to be social. And so it's kind of a party kind of atmosphere. And it's warm because there's fire. So like in the winter in Northwestern Ohio, where it's very cold, it's a nice place to be. So you're sort of like little bugs, moths to the flame, quite literally. That's how a lot of people get drawn into glass. And, at the time I thought I was going to be a sculpture major and like do metal casting and be very serious. And, but the sculpture studio was very like depressing and like dark and cold. And everybody was like grouchy, and like had their headphones on and like alone grinding metal, which is not, no offense to metal workers, but like, kind of dirty, gross. And so, the glass studio just like looked so appealing. So I was like, I'm going to go over there, take that class, and just kind of kept taking those classes and then changed my major.
So like in middle school and high school, or whatever, were you doing a lot of art then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What kind of art were you doing then?
Well, I just I was always taking art classes, and I pretty much in high school, I think I took all the art classes, and that was like all my most of my electives. And I was really but the class I really liked were color theory. Like our high school had some AP art courses, and one of them was color theory that we did using Joseph Albers. I just think it's called his Theory of Color. I can't remember the name of the book, but we used that book and did a bunch of those projects with color aid paper. And that was a really neat class, and just something that really kind of, I still think about and I still use, like those ideas of how colors interact and play off of each other. And then photography, and we had film photography too. And that was really like a fun hands-on, a really like hands-on process, more than drawing and painting can be. And that's something that like glass is very hands-on and very physical and very process oriented, and I like that a lot about photography.
Nice.
So,
were there any like early influences of artists of like you're like, they're really cool, I want to be like them?
I mean, it was hard to like think about being like an artist when I was younger, because you think about these really famous artists, and you don't learn a lot about them as people so much. Like you learn about their work and maybe like a little bit about their artistic, style that they're using, but not as much about, like Pablo Picasso, we know a lot about him, but like people like Rene Magritte and things like that. So for me to think about being like them was a little difficult. Like how would, but also because, they're from the past. And so like in modern times, like how do you,
replicate that?
Yeah. And so I don't really know. Some artists that I was really into kind of later on when I got into high school and college were artists like Wim Delvoye. And he's a Dutch artist, and his first name you might maybe say it Wim. I don't know if it's Wim.
W-H-I-M.
Just W-I-M, I think.
Wim.
Yeah. But he does a lot of. He was somebody that I was interested in before I really got into glass, and he does a lot of different kind of multimedia things that are really cool and have a really kind of interesting sense of humor. And I don't even remember where I first saw his work. Maybe it was something like one of those early blog sites like Everlasting Blort or something, which is still, have you ever seen that website? it's still online actually. And it's just this blog, like a sequential blog of just like weird stuff and like weird art stuff, everlastingblort.com. And it's been there since, gosh, I don't know, it's like early internet, maybe since like the 99, 98 or something. But yeah, so maybe it was there that I first saw his artwork. And but this piece, the first piece of his that I saw was called Cloaca. And it's this like machine, basically this huge machine that takes up a whole room. And it's a replication of the human digestive system. And so it's like all these vessels that have the different bacteria in the human gut that break down and process like and extract nutrients from our food. And you have to feed the machine at one end to keep the bacteria alive. Like if they're not fed every 2 hours, then they die. And so the art piece, dies. And so it has to be maintained like a living creature. And then, so at one end, you have to feed it, organic matter. And then at the other end, the organic waste or the byproduct comes out, AKA, the fecal matter. And he has it coming out in like a rotating, or there's different versions of Cloaca actually. Where he's like rebuilt the machine like a few times. But it actually like makes these little, actually like perfect little machine poops basically. And on his website for a while, he was selling them vacuum sealed for $1,500 a piece.
Of what it would produce?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then like the branding for it is all like Coca-Cola kind of font and stuff, and it's like Cloaca original, Cloaca new
Interesting. So you actually have to put stuff in it to keep it alive?
Yeah, I've never seen it in person, but yeah.
How big is the machine? Or
like a whole room? Like a whole room, I'm not sure how long, if it's like 50 feet or...
Can it be moved, or is it like built to stay?
I'm not sure. I think it's probably built in place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but
I'm guessing it's clear so you can see.
Yeah, there's like these different vessels, and then like tubing and stuff, and so you can kind of see all the hardware and see it, the stuff going through it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that was one piece that of his that really was exciting. And then he's done other things too, like stained glass windows and like tiled bathrooms, and he actually started as a tattoo artist originally and then moved into fine art, and some of his early work is like tattooing pigs and then tanning the hides from the tattooed pigs and then showing that as the artwork.
Wow. That's wild. Tattoo the pigs and then skin them and take the hide.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Like pigs that are going to be used for the, commercial meat industry anyway. And, there's a whole lot of...
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, pig's going to die. Might as well use it as a canvas, I guess.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one artist that really into.
Cloaca.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to look that up. So why would you say you're drawn to glass and art?
I really like glass. Well, originally what drew me in was kind of the social aspect of the studio, and that's something different than I've really experienced in a lot of other mediums. Like if you're painting, you're sort of alone, in your own space, in your own mind, in your own headspace. Same thing for drawing. Sculpture too, like different things like metal casting, there's a team aspect to that. But, I like the group aspect of blowing glass. I used to play, I still do every now and then, but I used to play soccer. And so, being on a team and working together with a group of people that you're, friends with was something that I really liked. And so blowing glass together really reminded me of that. And so that drew me in first. And then I like to be warm. And so that's a big factor. But also glass is a material that can really do a lot of different things. And so you can't really get bored with it. And so I like the variety of process.
Yeah, because you can mold it to anything.
Yeah, you can blow it, and which that's how I started. But it's hard to get access in a hot shop that can be expensive, and if you're not in an area where there are places to blow glass, and you have to travel, and so that can be tough. But you can also cast it, like you can cast metal and other things like ceramics. You can just straight up carve it as a cold material. That's called cold working. I do a lot of that at my studio. And, we call it, cold when it's at room temperature. And so, yeah, you can just carve it like a block of stone.
Wow.
And, you can do flat glass. There's all the flat glass stuff like stained glass, and then kiln techniques like fusing and slumping. And each one of those, there are people that specialize in, just one segment of it. And then there's other people that like to kind of go across and use a little bit of everything.
Wow. What is like the process for blowing glass? I'm guessing you have to heat it really hot and then blow air through it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, first you have to have the equipment and the studio, and so usually, people that are working a lot in blown glass kind of work in a larger group environment. Maybe like 2 or 3 groups of artists, or a public access kind of studio, because the equipment investment is pretty heavy. Like there are some smaller, like sort of personal mobile type furnaces and things that you can have yourself, but and do some little things. But to really blow glass on like a commercial scale, or to make a line, like a product line, and to be able to produce inventory, it's nice to be in a kind of a larger space. And so usually that'll start with like a bigger furnace, a couple 100 pounds of glass in a crucible, in a high temperature refractory crucible, in either a gas or electric furnace. And so the glass the furnace has to always be on. Like if there's glass molten, it has to stay on until it's empty. Like it's kind of a multi-day process to heat the furnace up and then to cool it down. So, it's like you sort of have a season of production, where a lot of people will have their furnace on for 6 months out of the year, and they'll do all their hot production, and then they'll shut down, for in the summertime, let's say, when it's hot, and then do, shipping and marketing or whatever, do their other stuff, cold working, and have their furnace off. You don't really like turn it on and off, every day or every week,
Yeah, I was just saying, it takes a while to get hot.
Yeah. And so also, like if you have a bigger furnace that you have to, have on for a long period of time, like you're not gonna, like it has to be on 24 hours a day, burning gas or electricity. And so you're not going to be blowing glass necessarily for 12 hours a day, or even maybe for 8 every single day. So usually you'll have a group of a couple different artists, and they'll like, split the week, you get 2 days and then I do 2 days, because it's physically, you get worn out. So it's physically taxing. So,
wow.
So you blow glass, you put the raw materials into the furnace, you melt them together. Like some people will buy, kind of a raw batch and refine the glass themselves. And then, and that's a little cheaper. And then some people will buy kind of a pre-melted glass batch, and you throw that in the furnace, and it kind of takes a day to refine. And then you're able to blow glass with blow pipes and honey rods. And those are stainless steel, or, they can be carbon steel or stainless steel rods that you actually, can manipulate the glass with. Wow. And then there's tools and stuff, because you can't actually touch the glass itself, because it's too hot. So.
Wow. So do people put like bottles and stuff, or is it special kind of glass, or like?
You can. Some people do melt bottle glass. There are a couple places. It's not so widespread, because you have to Not all bottles are the same glass.
Oh.
And so like if you look at a brown beer bottle and a green beer bottle, those have a different chemistry to them. And so you can't necessarily throw them in together into the same pot because they will melt together, and while they're hot, they'll be a liquid together. But then when they cool down, they have a different cooling, like a different expansion rate. And so when they cool, they shrink at different rates and they'll want to crack apart and come apart from each other. And so it's kind of like, if you think about, like if you know about ceramics and how there's different clay bodies, you can't really mix clay bodies. Like you can't mix like a porcelain clay with a stoneware and fire something because, they expand and contract at different rates when they're heated, and glass is kind of the same way. So a lot of people will buy, just one kind of glass there's a few manufacturers.
How do they color it? Or
there are different like manufacturers that make color that we pre-buy, because it's all like chemistry, like a ceramic glaze is. But with ceramics, I don't really do much ceramics, so don't quote me on this, but with ceramics, you're mixing together dry ingredients and like some water and stuff, and that homogenizes it. But with glass, to homogenize everything, you have to melt it together and get like heat convection to homogenize it, and that takes a separate furnace for like each color. And so individual people don't usually do that. Like some people do, if that's their kind of bend, is to work on glass chemistry. But there's a few companies, color companies, in Germany, and like there's some out on the West Coast that make bar stock and frit and the different colorants that we buy, and then we mix that in with the clear glass. And so most people just melt clear and then add different colors.
Oh, they add colors afterwards? It's after it's
No, it's while it's hot. But it's just like a layer within the clear. And so when you see it, it looks like the whole thing is the color. But, it's maybe just one layer within the glass.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you can sort of mix colors by layering multiple colors on top of each other and create your own sort of optical mixes. But it's not quite the same as like, you're not literally like mixing together paint,
Right.
Like where it's, yeah.
What is the most difficult thing you've had to make? By like glass?
The most difficult thing, that's hard to say, because there's so many different processes. I do a lot of like cold working and casting, on a more daily basis. But with glass blowing, when things get more difficult when they get larger, or when you get into many components, let's say, having to come together, because then you need like more people to coordinate together. And so that's where like the coordination, the timing, because you also have to keep the glass at kind of a consistent temperature while you're working it. And so things like that, I guess, would be more difficult.
How long does it take to cool something down after you've made it? Like, do you stick it in water, or how does that work?
After you blow glass, everything has to cool down slowly, and but it depends on the size of it, on the shape of it, if there's a lot of color in it too, because the glass has to homogenize in what's called an annealing oven. And so it's a big kiln. So after you blow glass, you remove it from the punny rod or from the the blowpipe. You crack that off and you put it into an oven, and that oven usually sitting around 1,000 degrees or so, which is just below the plastic point, where glass will stop moving and actually be solid. And so the glass then, if it's a different shape, like if it's these flowers here, let's say, different parts of it will cool differently based on their mass. Like this flower is bigger and more solid than this branch. And so this will lose its heat faster than this, because it kind of creates heat sinks. And so the glass kind of has to sit at a,
unified temperature.
Yeah, to get everything, because once you take it from the reheat chamber into the kiln, this could be 1,400 degrees, this could be 1,000, this could be 1,100. And so things will if it's bigger, it has to sit for longer. And so it can take usually around 24 hours, maybe sometimes even up to, a week or a couple weeks if it's very thick. Like if this was all solid glass, this would take, a few hours, a few, dozen hours or something to cool. And so there's different like formulas that glass artists use to come up with our annealing cycles.
Nice. So how do you develop your artistic skills now? Do you have like routines for practicing your art?
I mean, the main thing is, just staying in practice and, but also going out and, taking classes and working with other artists too, and seeing how they do things. That's always, I always am learning something. If I go and do a studio visit, or if I go and see, another glass artist do a demonstration and just see how somebody might do something differently than what I do. And I like to pick up tips and tricks from that. But, a lot of repetition really is a good way to go, because you start to figure out like things that you can take out of the process and streamline what you're doing.
Wow. So like at home, you said you do a lot of casting and trimming or shaving or whatever.
Yeah, cold working, like grinding and polishing. And that's a lot like, woodworking or stone carving, subtractive style of working.
Wow. So what kind of tools do you use to trim the glass?
A lot of the similar stuff that, stone carvers use. A lot of diamond tools like wet saws, tile saws, that kind of thing. Like I have a little tile saw. I have a wet belt sander.
Wow.
Air tools, angle grinders, but everything for glass uses water, because when you're grinding, you build up friction and heat, and that can crack the glass. And so that's a little bit different than stone. You have to worry about, the heat kind of building up, but also the dust. I know a lot of people that work stone will work wet as well because of the fine dust particles. And so that's not good to inhale. And so that keeps the dust down if you're working wet.
Keeping it wet, yeah. Why is it so bad for you to inhale that? Or
particleized glass.
Well, yeah.
It's silica. Yeah. It's silica, and so it's not something that's going to really harm you from one or a couple exposures, but it's like over time, the buildup if you're inhaling little particles, because they never leave your body.
Whoa.
And so, silicosis is black lung. Like that's what coal miners
It never
get.
leaves your body?
Yeah, because your body, you can't break down glass. It's inert. And in your lungs, where does it go? It doesn't go.
Wow.
It doesn't go anywhere. So.
Wow. I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah, sense. So N95s, and so during the pandemic, I was like, oh yeah, I have N95s already. But
N95.
Yeah, just this. We wear a lot of respirators. Yeah, N95.
Yeah. I got you.
So that's always good.
Awesome. Who are your favorite artists of all time now?
My favorite artist of all time, I would have to say, I already mentioned Wim Delvoye, and but I'm also very interested in, in terms of famous artists like James Turrell. He was somebody that I was really impacted by. Maybe my favorite artist of all time might be like Andy Warhol. Really like just his philosophy about art and a lot of the ways that he thought about art, and kind of changed how the world thinks about art and what it does and where it comes from.
Andy Warhol is a very special type person, because he's one of those people that's like keeps his mouth shut and lets you interpret his art for himself. So every party he would go to, he would just be like super superficial, like super surface level. Yeah. Never going deep, never talking too much. And so he became this enigma, mysterious,
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, what is he about? What is it? And he's like, most of my art is just a reflection of pop culture.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the, I need to look back into it again, but you know how they're like going through all his archives and like, all the like boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff that he had, and they're like archiving it. I'm not sure if they're done, if they finished, or if they're still going through it, but like, he, basically hoarded like all this.
Wasn't he somewhat of a hoarder?
Yeah, and so they've been cataloging it for a long time, and it's really fascinating to me. So I really like Andy Warhol. There's a lot of glass artists too that I really like that kind of do cool things, or a lot of the studio artists in general, and kind of the studio movement I think is really cool. It's kind of a hippie movement, in the 70s and 60s and 70s, and so you can like look at the different materials like ceramics and blacksmithing and printmaking and glass, and they all kind of have their different like studio leaders and little studio revolutions where they sort of reclaim their material from industry. And so those kind of founding people I think are really cool. Like, and I'm not really into necessarily Dale Chihuly's work, but like that would be probably the most well-known example of somebody like that, like Dale Chihuly, Buster Simpson, Hank Adams, people that are kind of using material in a non-traditional way. I like that.
Yeah, I like Chihuly's flowers and stuff.
And more like the work itself I think is cool, is beautiful, and then when you see it in person, the scale of it is really incredible, and it's really large, and to make work at that level, on that scale, consistently, for a whole career, is really, I mean, he doesn't make it himself personally,
right?
But I know a lot of the artists that work on his team, a lot of the blowers are friends of mine, and
wow.
They're the best glass blowers literally in the world, and they're doing it on a daily basis.
I must say, because I went to Las Vegas once and went to a casino and looked up, and the entire ceiling was Chihuly.
At the Bellagio.
Yeah.
I haven't been there myself, but we all know about it.
And I was just like, we were waiting for Circus Soleil show to happen, and we were in the lobby or something. I was just like, oh my god, the entire ceiling is glass.
Yeah, and so like the work, I like it. It's maybe not. It's not artwork that I wouldn't make myself, but
mass produced.
Well, it's not, but it's maybe like mass appeal, but like what he did for the glass studio movement, similarly, like really just changed what people thought glass could be and do, and that you could do it on that scale. Of course, he's not the only one, like the most well-known one, so I don't make my friends upset.
Right. Yeah.
Don't want to amp up Chihuly too much. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No,
he's fine without it. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't need more recognition. So, what would you say your art represents?
My work, I guess, generally, like I have more specific kind of bodies of work that kind of talk about more specific ideas, but generally, my artwork is kind of an exploration of the material and what I find fascinating and beautiful about glass. That's kind of always what I'm chasing in a broad sense. Thinking about how to use glass in a new way, trying to do something that I haven't seen somebody else do before. With glass art, it's really easy to get lost in technique and process and just try to be the best at a technique that you possibly can. And that's fine. Some people do that, and that's their work. But I am maybe more interested in having a unique voice in the material, and so I'm always trying to kind of find that path, which is hard to do. It's hard to do that in anything, to do something that nobody has done before. Maybe that's like an arrogant supposition that it's even possible.
I mean, you're alive, so.
Yeah, exactly. Like, at least in this unique moment, I'm doing something new. So that's what I like to do. But I also I like humor. I like kind of jokes. I like double entendre. I like color. I like texture. And glass really can, sort of give you all that. If that answers your question.
I understand. Yeah. What is your like dream glass piece to make? Like,
my dream glass piece to make would probably be a really large casting, or some really large blown work, because those are the hardest things to kind of do. Because you need a really large kiln to make a really large casting, and those are pretty rare. There's only a few places in the country that you can really go to access kind of large pieces of equipment. And then, same thing with larger blown work too. Like, it'd be great to have a team of really skilled artists that would execute my design, similar to like what Dale Chihuly is maybe doing.
yeah, like
That kind of a setup would be great.
Where do you go now to blow glass? Or
To blow glass, I usually, I don't really blow glass regularly, because it is expensive and you have to travel. And so I usually do it, a couple times a year, like usually in the summertime when I'm out west. Like when I'm, I usually go to Pilchuck Glass School in the summer and work on the summer staff there. And that's like a workshop place. Like if you've heard of Penland or Aroma in Gatlinburg, that they do like craft workshops. But Pilchuck just does glass workshops. And so when you're on staff there, you get blow time. And so I'll blow glass there. Or, Asheville, there's some studios that you can rent time. So I can go to Asheville. Or occasionally, there's people with personal studios, but that's kind of like a hit or miss, if they have their furnace on, if there's time available.
wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice. Like, but you mostly work at home doing.
I do. At home, I have a one-car detached garage that I have like all my power tools in. I have a couple kilns in, and so I can do all that stuff there. And so I do that on a daily basis. Like, I'm either grinding and polishing glass for myself, or then for a job. My job, I do work for other artists too.
Nice. What do you use the kiln for?
The kilns, I'll do some smaller casting in there. Like, I have a couple smaller ceramic kilns, and then I can do, with the digital controller on there. And so I can do some smaller casting, or, I'll slump bottles into sheet glass, and,
Wow.
general melting.
Nice. How long does it take to like melt something when you put it in there?
I mean, you can have it hot enough to melt things in an hour, and not very long. And so, over like in the fall, I was doing a lot of like processing bottles and cutting up bottles and then slumping them flat into sheet glass. And that I can do that in about a day.
Wow.
So like,
have, like,
in the
sheets
morning,
of
and then
stacked up.
I do, yeah, like little, they're about this size, yeah.
Nice.
Like little panes. And so I was like, maybe I'll make a window out of all of these panes.
Wow.
Learn how to make a old-timey window,
What are all the different colors that you have of glass?
It was all my liquor bottles that I'd been saving. And so it was mostly Hendrix bottles and Roku gin bottles. Oh. And so those ones are all clear. And then the Hendrix bottles have some purple ones, some, even the black ones vary a lot. Some brown.
Wow.
Some are more black. Yeah.
Liquor bottles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what would you say inspires your creativity?
I would say my the material itself, but also I like to just keep myself busy and just be doing things. And so just activity process really inspires my creativity, like, processing the bottles. So if I don't really have an idea, like I'll do something like that that's busy work. And, that'll kind of help me spark a new idea, like just working with bottles, like, oh, maybe I'll make some window panes or, play with, some flat glass. And so I like to kind of, engage my hands, I guess, to get my mind going.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, how would you best describe the type of artist you are?
The type of artist that I am, I guess I would say a studio artist. I like to be in the studio. I like to be really hands-on. I do a decent amount of drawing to, plan things and so I don't forget, but, I'm not really like drawings to look at, more so diagrams for myself later. So I'd say very hands-on, very studio-oriented.
Nice. Okay, great. What would you say your strengths and weaknesses as an artist are?
Well, my strengths would be definitely, staying busy. I'm pretty good at, like kind of, I hesitate to say budgeting my time because I struggle with that sometimes, but I'm pretty good at knowing like how long something's going to take to do and, what I'm going to need to do it, and then realizing that, and following through. Like those are my strengths as an artist. Also, I don't really have much of a shortage of ideas. Like I can kind of come up with, something might not be the best. I might not love it tomorrow, but, I can kind of make something out of anything. But my weaknesses would for sure be, online marketing, branding, anything to do with the internet. So, like, I finally just got my website live again, but it was down for a long time. Answering emails. Again, I've tried to be better, but
The administrative stuff.
I hate doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so how long have you been in Nashville now?
Nashville area, because we're like outside of the city, but I mean, we've lived around here since like 2011, really. So,
what initially brought you here?
Well, at the time, when I moved down here, my husband, he was a resident artist at the Appalachian Center for Craft, which is about an hour outside the city, and so that's what got us, into the area out there. And I was a student at Southern Illinois University, and he was there. We overlapped there for a period of time, and then he got this residency, and then I moved down here after I finished my degree. So
nice.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is something you've learned living in Nashville?
Something I've learned living in Nashville. I would say, something specific to Nashville. I don't know, maybe, take the surface roads over the freeway. But, living in Nashville, I've really enjoyed the kind of the wildlife and nature around the city and getting outside the city. And, that's where we spend most of our time. And just that there's so much beautiful hiking in the area and waterfalls. That's something that I didn't realize until we had already moved or lived here for a while, was the amount of waterfalls in Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's like absurd. And even the one, just beyond like the public, like the ones that are parks and things, like the amount of like secret little private waterfalls and like cool little swimming holes.
Oh yeah, dude, swimming holes.
Yeah, I guess that's a good one. That's a good one. I found a really good swimming hole. I'm not going to identify it on a podcast. It's a location. I don't want to blow it up, but
right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Found our preferred swimming hole.
Nice. The pool's pretty bit deep.
Yes. Wow. Deep pools, shallow area, stony.
That's amazing.
I actually saw one time when I was there was I don't know if it was a marmot or a stoat or whatever, like a weasel, some kind of a weasel was playing in the little creek and like jumping in the water and going down the little waterfall, and then like did that a couple times.
What?
Yeah.
You saw it having fun?
I saw it having fun. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just like a little creature just swimming, going.
Yeah, like a little, weasel, marmot, whatever. I'm not sure what exactly lives around here. What variety of muskrat? Or it wasn't big. It was like skinny, like a ferret. It looked just like a ferret.
Wow, and you just see it having fun.
It could have been a ferret, I guess, like somebody's escaped ferret.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have like a favorite venue here?
A favorite venue, probably. I like them all. They're so different. There's so many different ones, but the one that I've probably been to the most is the Blue Room.
Oh yeah, I love the Blue Room.
Yeah, the Blue Room's really cool. I like the size of that. I like that scale of venue. Basement is, Basement East is cool too. Like that's a kind of similar scale. I mean, I like Ascend for if you want to be outside. That's always a nice time if it's really like a good weather. The Ryman, I mean, seems like everybody that I want to see is going through the Ryman right now. Like it's all the 20th anniversaries of, the 2000s, the early of the aughts. So everybody's coming through.
The aughts?
Yeah, the 02, 03, like all those albums that came out in the early 2000s are all having their 20th anniversaries. What is it? The Postal Service one that's coming up.
Oh, okay.
That show. But that's not at the Ryman. But yeah, go to the Ryman a lot. Of course, love that.
Do you have favorite restaurants here?
Favorite restaurants. Let's see. Of course, Mas Tacos. That's a given. We've been going to Dicey's a lot. Dicey's, I think, is pretty popular. Let's see, where else did I go recently? I don't know. I've really been wanting to try out Xiao Bao. I have not been there yet. But it looks really good. It's very tempting me on Instagram. Like a favorite sit-down restaurant. Pinewood, maybe. That's all. Again, that's kind of a typical answer. Not super exciting, but like Lou. We've been there a couple times. Yeah, their food is really good, and I think it's like vegan, or most of it is. There's a lot of vegetarian stuff that you wouldn't expect.
Huh.
But you don't really notice. Yeah, that it's. I'm not sure if it's vegan or vegetarian, but
it's kind of like that Beehive place. Have you ever been there next to the East Room?
No, I don't think so.
It's like,
what's it called?
Beehive.
Oh yeah.
It's vegetarian or vegan. Everything's mock meat.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so you think you're eating the regular thing, but it's not.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, Lou isn't really like. I don't think they have like mock meat, but it was just like stuff that, it's not that it sounded weird, but it was like, it just was so good. Like I don't want it to make it sound like it didn't sound good. Like it sounded good, and then you get the food, and it's like even more delicious.
Wow.
Like a sweet potato pancake or something. Like, and then it doesn't sound like it's gonna blow your mind, but then
it does.
It's like yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So What is some advice you'd give to someone who's going to move to Nashville and do art?
Advice for moving to Nashville. Well, I would say if you're going to come to Nashville and do art, that you should just, it's really just like get out and be in the scene. You just have to of course you have to make work. I mean, that's a given. Like you have to have decent work, but and maintain some sort of studio practice. But like you have to participate in, the art crawls and stuff. Like engage the community is the best way to make any progress, I think, in your career and like just in anywhere you go in art. That's really kind of all we have. Like there's not really like a LinkedIn for artists, or maybe there is, I don't know about it or something, but like, we don't have like a structured job platform or like, oh, be an artist, you do ABC and you can just kind of like, oh, I first have to be the assistant to the manager and then I'm the manager and like there's nothing like that. So I think all we have is really our network of people that and your friends and people you work with. And so like, as building that as soon as you can, whenever you move to a new city or a new place, I think it's important. And I'm still trying to do that, because I'm not living like in the city. So I'm not able to go to as much stuff as maybe I would like to, but I think the more of that you can do, the kind of more progress you can make.
Nice. Yeah. So reflecting back on when you first started as an artist, what is one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome and how did you get through it?
I mean, when I first started as an artist, really, I think the biggest challenge that I had, because I was in college. And so I was in a pretty, admittedly, like a pretty cush environment. You're in like the shelter of academia. And so, I came up that way, in school. And so I think a lot of the hurdles that you face there is just like perseverance and, the like mental fortitude to keep going, because a lot of people are always like, kind of questioning what you're doing, like, oh, how are you going to make money at that? Like, and then something like glass, that's even more kind of weird. People are like, how are you going to make money doing glass art? At least you can kind of, you'd be like, oh, I'll do craft shows and stuff. But a lot of it is just, I think, keeping going and having that kind of drive to see your vision through,
Figuring it out.
Yeah, figuring it out, like knowing that, you don't have to take some off ramp to, take the safe route. Like I think a lot like, being a musician is probably very similar. It can be very tempting or easy to do. And sometimes you have to have like a side gig or a plan B or whatever for a period of time, while you're waiting for other things to kind of coagulate enough to be something real, but just kind of keeping going. And so that was kind of my biggest hurdle early on, is sort of believing in yourself, enough to do that.
Nice.
And getting like mentors and friends and like graduate students, like older people that encourage you, I think is a really big part of that.
Yeah. What would you say is your biggest personal growth from last year to this year?
Let's see. I think last year to this year, well, I didn't have a whole lot of like big changes from last year. Like this year, be pretty somewhat similar, but I think last year to this year, my biggest personal growth that I'm trying to do is be better about like the administrative side. And I've already done pretty good about it, where, I've done a few applications, and I don't want to say exactly what, in case I don't get the things, but like, some more kind of professional, next level type applications where I kind of have to be better about those things. And so far, that's probably my biggest growth.
Nice.
More adulting.
Right.
Yeah. And I also last year too, I had, like, for my cold working business, I had a couple of people work for me that I actually paid enough that I have to do taxes with them. So that kind of goes along with the adulting. So I had to issue people 1099s. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how can people support you as an artist?
They can support me as an artist, mostly, and I've heard this in some of the other podcasts too, but mostly by, I think supporting any artist, you can buy their artwork, but also, I mostly, if I'm online, if I'm doing anything online, I'm on Instagram. And so I think engaging with people, engaging on Instagram, um, you know, responding to sales and things like that. But I think showing up for artists, when we have shows and things, that's probably the biggest way that you can show up for me. I have some work available or on view now at Wilder until the end of March. Not sure when this will come out, but if you want to go and see it, just coming to the openings. If you're not able to financially to own a piece, then just coming and saying hi. And I always love that, meeting people, and again, increasing that network of people that maybe we'll work together in the future. Maybe we'll trade artwork or just be friends.
Yeah. So how do you consume media? Do you have like a favorite YouTube videos you watch, or?
I mostly, I'm like, when I'm watching media, I'm usually doing like shows. Like, I like reality shows, my guilty pleasures, of course. I like just like the worst reality TV. Of course, the Bachelor franchise. I mean, but Golden Bachelor, I was a little bit disappointed. It was a little maybe too wholesome. It was kind of like, a little boring.
The Golden Bachelor.
Yeah. I don't know if you watch any of those. There's an older gentleman. He was a very respectful gentleman. No, but yeah, I like The Bachelor, but also, what's the one? Married at First Sight. That one's really good. I like the relationship ones. Those are fun. Love is Blind. So that kind of media, but, and then just your standard, like, Spotify.
Do you have any favorite movies or anything?
Favorite movies? I think,
or books?
Favorite movies or books? Well, I am. I want to go and see. I need to go see Dune 2. I love Dune. The books, the old movies, like the David Lynch, the David Lynch version, but also if you saw the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries, which is like, it's like 9 discs or something. It's like the first 3 books or something. It's really long. It's really good though. If you like Dune.
The show, it's a miniseries?
Well, it is, because it's so long, it's like 5 movies or something. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Oh.
I think it was, I'm not sure if it was, I can't remember if it was before or after the David Lynch one. I think it was after. But the Science Fiction Channel like produced it. Like maybe in the early 2000s or something. But yeah, so Dune, I really like that book. My favorite book maybe is The Once and Future King, by T.H. White, which is King Arthur, like the book that The Sword and the Stone is kind of based on.
Once and Future King?
Yeah, by T.H. White. And so, yeah, if you like the old Disney movie, like all those stories about him transforming into different animals and stuff, like that's all in there. But it's the whole life of King Arthur, like from when he's a boy all the way to the end of his life.
Wow.
But it's a really good book. It's just really like good read, and if you're into that sort of thing, like knights and
yeah, 1200s.
Yeah, like if you like that sort of Arthurian.
Yeah, knights and sieges.
Yeah, and it's a long book, but it's not super long, but it's easy to read.
Awesome.
That's a good one. Trying Not to Try, that's kind of a self-help book in a way, or that's about like philosophy, kind of about like
Awesome.
skill, or like amateur's luck versus like learning, being super calculated. Yeah.
Try Not to Try.
Trying Not to Try. That's a good book.
Okay, awesome. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add that I might not have asked you about?
Yes, I have two things. Okay. Well, I mentioned Wilder. Also, I wanted to mention that I am teaching a glass class at Buchanan Arts.
Oh,
coming up in May. If you want to learn how to cast glass, I'm teaching kind of a simple process. It's a weekend class, and there's still spots. So please sign up. Buchanan also, that's another one of my favorite places in Nashville. It's right next to Elephant Gallery, which is like a cool spot in town, for art shows and things. But Buchanan's doing a lot of cool like education with people of all ages, like kids and all the way through adults. And they have like artist residency program as well. And so I'm kind of mostly for ceramic people or local based artists, I think, are usually who the residents are. And so check that place out. And then also, if you're interested in glass and glass blowing, there's a new season of Blown Away coming out on Netflix. So yeah, you mentioned media. So if you have Netflix, Blown Away is like one of it's like a competition style reality show about glass blowing. And there's already 3 seasons on Netflix, and the 4th season comes out tomorrow.
Ooh.
And I know a lot of the people.
That's awesome.
On all the seasons of that show. So yes, it's fun.
Sick.
Yeah, so watch that.
What is was that both the things you wanted to Okay, awesome.
That was it.
So here's the last question.
Okay.
What is something absurd you love or do?
Oh, something absurd that I love or do. I was thinking about this. Before. Something absurd. I mean, I guess I just did it the other day too. I really like chickens, and it's not, I don't know if it's absurd or not, but because I eat the eggs, I get the eggs, so there's a justification, so maybe not absurd. But I bought more chickens. I don't really need any more. I bought some chicks. They coerced me at the Tractor Supply Co. with 50% off. So I couldn't say no. Oh, there's more scam calls, but yeah. So my kind of chicken obsession.
Nice. You have like a little house for them and everything.
I do. That's my plan this weekend too, is to like kind of do some chicken coop rehab.
Do you like to hold them?
No, I mean, not so much anymore, because they kind of, they get muddy and dirty, so I'm okay not touching them, but I like, the little ones I do. The chicks, yeah, I'll hold them. But, no, I just like that they're there, and I like to watch them and take care of them. It's just kind of a nice, it makes you get up early, and you have to like let them out and feed them, and, it's kind of cool to... They all have little personalities, like they're very distinct from one another. Like you can tell them apart. Like they have personalities. That's maybe the absurd part, is you like get to know them. You get to know like some are more calm and, chill and will let you touch them. Like sometimes you pet them a little bit, but some just don't like people, Some are very curious.
How many do you have?
Right now I have maybe, I have 10 hens and a rooster. Oh, and then I just got 6 chicks.
Does the rooster crow at the...
Yes, yeah. All the time, all day long, yeah.
That's awesome. Do you like hearing it?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. It would be weird. It would be unsettling to not hear it, like, at an interval,
Does it happen like at 5 a.m.? Like when does it happen? Yeah,
pretty much, yeah.
Right when the sun...
I don't really know. I guess I haven't Googled it. Like if the, like what is it that triggers, scientifically? Like, I don't know if it's the sun or if it's just when they wake up, like, because I think that the crowing is like it's like a signal to other males, maybe. Yeah, I have to look this up. I was thinking about it the other day. Like, why?
This is my dominion.
Yeah, like these are my hens, like, because, and then there's another chicken across the street. We had 2 roosters, and then they got in a fight, and then our neighbor took one, and so the other one's across the valley, and so you can hear that one.
Wow.
In the distance. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of absurd. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming over and doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It was fun.